Good morning, y'all. We're going to make some red beans and rice. Very simple, very cheap. If you live like me, on a strict budget, you can make what you can. This is about a half a bag, so this is a 1 pound bag, 454 grams. So this is half of that. That's all we need. This is a 1 pound bag, or 454 grams of light red kidney beans. Now you can use red beans. Uh, you can use canned kidney beans or red beans, up to you. I love kidney beans, and I prefer the dry ones. This is the first time I have found this sausage in a store in a decade. I actually knew the owner of this company, and he passed away some years ago, and he had no kids to leave it to, so I assumed this company no longer existed. Apparently they do still make it, so I'm excited for this. But because I'm using dried beans, these have first got to soak in very hot water for about an hour. So I'm going to pour about half of this bag into the pot. I'm going to add about 4 cups of water maybe. I don't need that much right now. I'm going to bring it to a boil, turn the stove off, put a lid on it, and let it sit there for an hour. I'll be back. In the meantime, that will also give my sausage time to thaw out so I can cut it up. So I decided to go ahead and cook this entire bag. 1 pound, 454 grams. You don't want to put any salt in here. You just want the water to cover it by, say, 2 inches. Cold water. Just let the beans and the water come up together in temp. Just let it boil for maybe 10 minutes, a rolling boil. Turn your stove off, put a lid on, and let it sit here for an hour. You're just trying to make sure you get all the dirt or any bad beans out of here, because these literally came out of the ground and went into a bag. So we want to make sure there's nothing bad in here. But these freeze really well, so that's why I'm cooking it all, and I'm going to freeze about half of it. Now, if you have any kind of freezer containers, these things are, I'm certain, are older than I am, and I have some little short ones. This is all you need. Put a little piece of tape on the top, write on here what it is and the date, and put it in your freezer. And as you want them, pull them out, stick them in the refrigerator overnight before you want them, and then the next day it's thawed out. Especially if you live alone. This is, budget friendly, and if you live alone, this is a great way to just cook a lot at once and then put it up and eat it as you want it. And again, I could just sit here and eat beans all day long by themselves. I truly love the taste of these. And again, we're going to wait for this to thaw out, and then I can cut it up to go into our red beans before we start to cook the red beans. So, I'll be back. Our beans boiled for 10 minutes. I turned them off, moved them off the heat. That's all I do. I don't have a lid small enough for this pot, so I just put a plate there. We're going to let them sit there for an hour, and then we're going to rinse them off. Then we're going to cook them. So I'll be back. Now, you can chop up your sausage, any way you like it. Here's what I do. You can just cut it in rounds if you wanted. But I like to basically get a bite of sausage in every spoon. So, I cut them in half. I cut them in half again. And I dice them up in little chunks like this. Now, if you don't like a lot of sausage, you could use half of this and Save the rest for something else. But this kind of sausage here, this is really the only thing I use it for. Well, that's not entirely true. I do like making some sausage dogs. You know, just get you a hot dog bun and fry you up some, or grill you up some. I use like the beef brats with a little bit of mustard. Oh, so good. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna get all this diced up. I'll be back. Okay, y'all, we got our beans rinsed off and cleaned out. We filled the pot back up, maybe a little bit too much water for now, but you definitely need to put a lot of water in here when you start to cook them, anywhere from 8 to 10 cups, and depending on, again, on the heat and humidity in your house, you may have to add some going forward, because these beans will have to cook for about 2 hours. So about 3 hours total. An hour soaking, or you can soak them in just room temp water for 24 hours before you cook them. And that will achieve the same thing as bringing them to a boil for 10 minutes and then letting them sit for an hour. So these will boil for about 2 hours. We got all our sausage cut up and in there. So 1 pound or 450 grams each of sausage and red beans. And again, this is obviously going to make a lot. If you're a single person or you're only feeding a couple people, make it, put it up in some containers and freeze it. Rice also freezes well. I wouldn't freeze the two together. Just put your red beans and sausage in one container and your rice in a separate one. But now we're going to add salt. Big, say about a tablespoon. And we'll probably have to go back and add more. Again, we're cooking 2 pounds of food here. However, the sausage will be a little bit salty. I'm going to add a little onion powder. These are optional. Garlic powder. Again, optional. And because I always use mild, I actually normally use beef sausage in my red beans and rice. But when I saw the Mosby sausage, they did not have any beef. I wasn't going to pass up the Mosby sausage, period, so I opted for the pork. And because I like a little kick, I'm going to add just a little sprinkle. That's plenty right there. Just, every 3 or 4 bites, you might get a little hint of that pepper. And that's it. That's all we're going to put in there. Now, after this cooks, this is just going to sit here and boil away. In about an hour, I will check the flavor to see if it needs more salt and if it might need more water. I originally used this pot because I was only going to cook half the bag of beans, but we'll work with what we got. So, I'll be back. So, we're about 90 minutes in, and I have already had to add about 3 or 4 cups of water because it got too low. Because you definitely want, yeah, this is sticking. I hadn't started in the last, 20 minutes or so, but you want a lot of juice. That's some of the best part, but you definitely want it to cook down to, well, you'll see in another 30 minutes. It'll be down probably another inch, and we should be good to go then. I can tell everything on the bottom, well, most on the bottom is soft. Looks are deceiving. A lot of these beans look like they're done, and probably about half of them are, but then half of them are still very hard, but they'll soften up just in these next few minutes. So, okay, we'll be back. This is what we were after. Oh, you can see it's, I'm gonna say about a third of the water has evaporated, and it's now a thick, almost gravy. And it's so good. So good. Okay, let's get some of this into a bowl. I'm starving. So this was ready about 30 minutes before it should have been, and I'm starving. I don't want to wait another 20 minutes for the rice. I'll cook that later. For now, I've got my garlic toast and my big bowl of yum. And this stuff is so hot. Let's get a little small bite. Mmm. Oh, that's delicious. Mmm. Perfect amount of salt, a little garlic powder. It almost feels like it wants to get hot, but it just doesn't happen. Like you can tell there's a tiny bit of spice in there, but you just don't actually feel it. Mm. I absolutely love red beans and sausage. And rice, of course. But I like this even better. This is Texas toast. We're going to dip it in there. The smoke coming off of it. Mm. If you don't like rice, make you some sort of bread, wheat bread if you prefer. I added butter and garlic powder. You can add garlic salt if you like it that salty. This is delicious. Takes a little while, so make sure you've eaten something before you start making this, because you're going to get hungry. This is so good. And it's just very simple. I didn't put anything in it, in terms of, I know a lot of people put peppers and stuff. Now, oftentimes I will cut up some raw onion, cold raw onion at that, and put it on top of here. But right now, it's been a while since I had this. I just want these red beans and sausage. And my bread, of course. Y'all have a good day.